Most animals have abilities that we would never even attempt to imagine, from keen hearing, vision and smell capabilities to the capacity to foresee catastrophic natural calamities. In many ways, our animal counterparts are miles ahead of us. These days it seems like a terrible catastrophe is about to occur because so many animals are acting very strangely. But is it actually the case? Today we'll examine a few unusual animal situations and try to determine what led up to them. Have you already subscribed, liked and rung the bell? Well, keep watching because what's happening in the animal realm is extremely terrible. Strange sheep. It's wise to count sheep if you can't go to sleep. So what do we do if the cuddly animals don't cheerfully leap over a fence but instead seem to be walking in circles forever? In actuality, a remarkable incident of this nature occurred recently in China. According to this, a flock of sheep spent more than 10 days wandering aimlessly. So what may the significance of this enigmatic rotary worm be? Veterinarians believe that we're dealing with an illness brought on by the bacteria Listeria monocytogenes, despite the fact that this question has not yet received a definitive response. The condition affecting sheep is appropriately referred to as circulatory illness. The neurological symptoms, particularly lateral deviation of the neck and the head, are the most obvious ones. As a result, it is assumed that affected animals often lean against hard surfaces, gather in a corner, or circle towards the affected side. Animal clairvoyance. As was already established, it is frequently claimed that animals possess a sixth sense or even the capacity for clairvoyance. So what does science truly have to say about this debatable hypothesis? No dead animal could be found among the countless human corpses in Sri Lanka's Yala National Park in December 2004 when a devastating tsunami killed approximately 230,000 people. And this despite the fact that the park houses a huge number of elephants, buffalo, monkeys, leopards, crocodiles and other animals, making it the largest animal reserve in the nation. However, according to specialists, the majority of marine life was able to retreat to deeper seas before the disaster. But how is it possible? How do animals know when to flee for their lives? Scientists contend that animals have the ability to foresee occurrences like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, despite the lack of extensive studies to support this. The first references discussing this type of sixth sense date back to antiquity. The sixth sense on the test bench. People in China were advised to pay close attention to the behavior of the animals in their vicinity in 1975 in an attempt to solve this riddle. The astounding outcome? Several people fled the area as the animals began to behave strangely. A few days later, the area would be violently jolted by an earthquake. Although comparable occurrences have also been reported in Turkey and Japan, specialists are still unsure of the circumstances behind these cases. Scientists do not believe that animals have a sixth sense that humans don't possess. Rather, they believe that animals' five senses are just more fully developed. So it is plausible that the 2004 tsunami was audible to the Asian elephants. The eavesdroppers on the pachyderms are so sensitive that they can hear sound waves that are undetectable to the human ear. Unfortunately, some animals can make blunders that cost them their lives in the ensuing fear. Fish are alleged to have leapt out of the water and perished many hours before an earthquake. The snakes left their protected lairs and perished in the snow from exposure. Mass crash. A surveillance camera in Mexico captured a massive flock of birds dropping to the earth like a heavy boulder around a year ago. So what caused the yellow-headed blackbirds in Chihuahua to appear to fall much more from the sky? Tragically, scores of birds perished in the enigmatic crash. Is it feasible that this is a sign of an impending disaster, or may there be another explanation for this puzzle? Although the precise cause of the massive crash is still unknown, researchers think the birds may have either swallowed hazardous chemicals, been startled by a bird of prey, or become entangled in a nearby power line. Signs of doom. Even if the animal's perplexing conduct seems to be quite strange, a basic issue still remains. Why do some people think these occurrences are related to a major catastrophe or possibly the end of the world? We'll have to quickly review the Old Testament to find out. According to God, a significant earthquake will occur in the land of Israel at that time, and the sea creatures will quake in front of my face, as stated in the 38th chapter of the book of Ezekiel. Every living thing on earth, including all avian and terrestrial animals, as well as all land humans. Together with the aforementioned avian catastrophes, mysterious incidents of mass fish fatalities are frequently reported. This biblical notion seems to be supported by the rising number of whales that have become stranded. The influence of man. We shouldn't, however, make things too simple for ourselves at this stage by blaming all of these occurrences on divine providence or a higher will. The possibility exists for a whale to wash up on the shore due to illness, injury, or loss. Yet in this case, the experts assert that there is no doubt that human activities are to blame for the increased beaching of whales. They include ship accidents, environmental contamination, and excessive marine fishing. The Dead Sea comes to life. I'm sure everyone has heard of the Dead Sea. Unfortunately, this body of water's official name is inaccurate. On the one hand, we're dealing with a lake without an outflow rather than a sea in the traditional sense. The Dead Sea, however, is not quite as inhospitable to life as its name might imply. Although there is no sign of complex life forms, so-called extremophile species, tiny organisms that can adapt to harsh environmental conditions, do not fall under this category. In further detail, saltpeter, cellulose and sulfur are mostly broken down by microbes in the Dead Sea. Noam Bedian recently made news when he demonstrated that there are in fact different living forms surviving in shallow depressions around the Dead Sea. Little fish cheerfully swimming through the incredibly saline waters can be seen, among other things, in the photographs captured by the Israeli photojournalist. If you're wondering why we're telling you this, it's because this occurrence is allegedly tied to a prophecy from the Bible. The area became a barren desert when Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. Nonetheless, even though the site's location is uncertain, some people think they were in the Dead Sea Basin. Scripture predicts that life will eventually return to the desert. Some followers of Christ believe that in light of recent events, a scenario prophesied in Ezekiel chapter 47 has just come to pass. These waters flow out into the eastern region and further down to the Jordan Valley and flow into the Dead Sea, and when it flows into the sea, its waters shall be healed, and everything that lives and moves in it where the river comes that shall live, and further, there shall be many fish there. Bird stars and 5G. In theory, 5G is designed to give users a mobile network that's much faster. Nonetheless, there are those who believe that the fifth generation of mobile communication truly poses a serious threat to everyone's health. The harmful effects of radio radiation also impact our animal counterparts today. Nonetheless, several people reached this conclusion after learning about the puzzling bird deaths in Italy over 3 years ago. As a result, the comment sections underneath the images of the dead animals were filled with generalizations like dead birds in 5G or birds all perished near 5G antennas. The issue? These terrifying hypotheses are simply not supported by any substantial evidence. The RepublicWorld.com website has given itself the goal of testing the users' beliefs. The tape that has been making the rounds online, though, is not actually from Italy. Rather, what we have here are the depressing impressions of an occurrence that happened in the Netherlands in 2018. But the reason the pigeons and the starlings really perished back then is still a mystery to us today. Here again, a 5G antenna test is allegedly to blame, although there is no genuine evidence to support this. Particularly striking was the fact that some users had removed their Facebook posts after extensively writing about the connections between bird deaths and 5G experiments. In actuality, these enigmatic cases are not a brand new phenomenon. Massive bird fatalities also happened in 2011 for unexplained reasons in Sweden and the United States. The sky changes colors. There are several further warning signals that a catastrophe is imminent. If you're unable to keep an eye out for any of these other changes aside from animal warnings, one of the simplest methods to anticipate a natural disaster is to glance up the sky. You should be aware that there is a possibility that something horrible is going to happen if the sky starts to rapidly change hues. Some claim to have witnessed the sky becoming green, yellow or orange when there are close bushfires. Even the sky could turn crimson. You should immediately seek cover if you observe any changes in the sky. When the sky becomes yellow or orange, a hurricane, tornado or other windstorm may be approaching. Typically, when it becomes green, dark or black, a violent storm with possible hail or other debris is approaching. The particles from the storm's wetness and the particles from sunlight frequently combine to change the color of the sky, giving the impression that it has done so. Your hair sticks up or jewelry vibrates. It's obvious that you should not be outside during a thunderstorm, yet it isn't always preventable. After all, a thunderstorm can surprise you. You may be sure that a storm is coming if you're outside and you hear nearby thunder or see lightning. Moreover, you should be aware of this crucial warning sign. There's a high likelihood that lightning is close if your hair suddenly starts to stand up on your head, arms or neck. An estimated 78 million lightning strikes strike the globe every year. A human being will be struck by one of them 300 times, ending their life. If jewelry or other metal things start to vibrate, there's another clear indication that lightning is about to strike. If your jewelry is large or thick enough, you should typically feel a faint pulsing sensation. If this happens to you, you should take off your jewelry right away and put it in a very remote location. You can be sure that you won't live if you get caught, since lightning is attracted to some metals. Trees bend. That may sound simple, but if you ever find yourself roaming through a forest, you should probably pay special attention to the trees. Trees may start to bend or alter shape if there is an oncoming landslide, if there are mountains or significant hills nearby. They may tilt, completely uproot, or merely bend as a result of this. Also, the earth can start to develop cracks, and you might feel it start to tremble under your feet. It's probably too late for you to run and hide if you're already experiencing this. Everything in their path will be destroyed by catastrophic landslides. They'll destroy nature and leave nothing but a miserable, muddy mess in their wake. Thus, pay great attention to trees and other flora the next time you're out alone in the forest. Your life could be saved by them. Singing sand. Sand avalanches may be to blame if while exploring the desert you start to hear a weird noise. Marco Polo originally described singing dunes in the Chinese desert hundreds of years ago, when this remarkable event was first seen. Even as late as 1889, Charles Darwin, who developed the idea of evolution, described hearing these peculiar noises. Flowing sand may create noises that are up to 100 decibels loud and frequently quite unsettling. The sound is very different, but the volume is comparable to a jackhammer being used on a building site. You should definitely leave the area as soon as you hear an odd tune or pitch coming from the sand nearby, in order to avoid being engulfed in it or buried beneath it. These avalanches of sand are no joke. What do you think about the peculiar events we described to you today? Is it possible to interpret these animal behaviors using straightforward scientific methods, or do they have a far deeper significance? Simply share your ideas with us in the comment section below if you want to. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you want to stay updated going forward. Last but not least, check out the other videos on our channel, to which we've included links in the video credits. And with that, I want to say thanks for watching, have a great day, and see you later.